Today's lesson will allow us to troubleshoot a burned out taillight or a fuse based on the symptoms that the car is providing. So an example may be you're driving home. I'm pretty sure this happened to some of you. You're driving home somewhere at night, maybe in return from a movie, dinner, or somewhere out with your friends. And all of a sudden, one of your buddies pulls up next to you and says, "Hey, your taillight's out. Your right taillight's out." And you're like, okay. So from experience and having a vehicle as long as I've had it for since 2005, I know that if a light goes out, some other lights go out. But in this case, we noticed that our AC lights are out, which are these right here. We noticed that our buddy said their tail lights out, so that's two bulbs that are out at the same time. So we get home and we want to check our lights and see what's going on. Sometimes with electronics, there are certain things that are all tied into one circuit, which is called a parallel circuit. And this causes one light to go out or one component to go out, which in turn is going to be a domino effect and cause all the other components to go out as well. So would it be a coincidence that all three bulbs are out? Maybe, maybe not. But what will be easier will be replacing a fuse. So first things first, we're going to troubleshoot. So we get home, we pop our hood, we pull out our manual, and we're going to find out what's going on with this car's lighting system. We recall that our friend said our right tail light was out. We noticed inside the cabin that our dash light that controls our AC and heater was out as well. So now we're going to check all four lights. So we're back inside our cab, inside the driver's seat. We're going to turn our headlights on, or maybe just our parking lights, whichever or, but we'll turn it on all the way so we could see what's really going on. Okay, so our headlights are on. We can see the headlights on inside the garage. We look in our dash, and normally this light right here, you can't see it, but we'll see it later. It's off. So now we're going to step outside and check out our right tail light. And we're going to check out all the other tail lights. The driver's side tail light and the front headlights. We're going to check all our lights on. So we notice here that our driver's side parking light and headlights on. And now we notice here that our driver's side parking light is off, but our headlight is on. We're at the rear of the vehicle, driver's side, and just like our friend told us, our right tail light is not on. And we check our driver's side tail light, and it's on. So we're back in the vehicle. We want to do one of two more checks. So we're going to check our emergency lights, make sure that they're on. So they're working in the dash. Our signal is working here. Let's go check outside. Passenger side, or driver's side, I'm sorry. And it looks like from the reflection that it's working in the rear as well. Passenger side emergency lights on. And it looks like from the reflection of our garage door that it's working there as well. So now our last check is to check our fuse. See if our fuse is blown or not, because we have three lights that are out. We got our passenger side tail lights out, the center lights out inside the cab where the AC and the heater vent, the heater control knobs are, and we have our passenger side parking lights out as well. So let's go ahead and track down in our owner's manual what fuse controls that light. Here is our owner's manual for the Lance Revolution 8 owner's manual 2005 Mitsubishi. So we're going to track it down and we're going to look in the index. The index tells us that it's page 7-35. 7-35 covers fuses. We notice that there is a fuse box inside the cabin of the car, and there's one inside the engine compartment of the car. So what we're going to do is we're going to locate the one that we need. So it's in the engine, inside the engine compartment. By looking at our owner's manual, we see right there a diagram of our fuse box. We see what each fuse box stands for. And we find the one that we need to look at, which is our right tail light, which is fuse number 20 inside the engine compartment. Engine compartment fuse location table. We locate that fuse box, which is located on the driver's side. We remove the top, locate that fuse, which is number 20. Use the owner's manual. Front of the vehicle is where the arrow is pointing. We look at the box, and we notice that number 20 is right next to this yellow one, which is this 15 amp fuse, which should be a 7.5 inch fuse. And we see that it's a 15. So right off the bat, we got something wrong. We got the incorrect fuse inside where a 7.5 amp fuse is supposed to be. So tools that are going to be required to do this job are simple. There's going to be a fuse remover, which is that white one. It's located inside our fuse box inside the cabin. A 7.5 amp fuse, which is the one that we need to replace. That's the correct fuse. And this is just an extra, which is a meter, and it checks if the fuse is good or not. If the fuse is not good, we'll touch the connectors on the right hand side, and that little green light will glow if the fuse is good. If it's not good, if the fuse is blown, then that little green light will not glow. So let's go ahead and remove our fuse in question. So we located that fuse. We're going to remove it with our tool. Have the fuse in hand. Right off of first look, we see that the little metal inside is split. So that's an indication telling us that that fuse is possibly blown. So we'll go ahead and see if it works. We make that connection, and no glow. So that tells us that this fuse is possibly broken. And as we see, again, from first view, we see that that's split right there. So we're going to go ahead and replace this fuse. Okay, so we have our 7.5 inch fuse, and we're going to do a little test on it right off the bat. We're going to see if it makes our green light glow, which it did. And now we're going to check and see if that metal piece is not split as well, which it's not. It's intact. It's together. So we're going to go ahead and replace the fuse now. Put this fuse inside the fuse box. We're going to use a little tool. It's going to help us in that little tight spot right here. Go ahead and push it in. We're going to push the fuse in. Make sure that it's in all the way. Right there. That's our fuse in question. And now we're going to check our lights again. So we're back inside the cabin of the car. On the driver's side, we're going to turn our headlights on, or we could turn the parking lights on. Doesn't matter, but we're going to go ahead and turn them all on. Parking light on, headlights on. So our first thing that we noticed was that our AC and heater control knob light was out, that it was not on. We replaced the fuse, and it's on. Now let's go outside and check our lights that were in question. As we see here, our parking light is back on. Here is the driver's side parking light. Our tail light works as well. So that tells us that we do not have to replace the bulb. If we had to replace the bulb, we would just grab a regular Phillips head screwdriver, remove these two bolts, that one, pull this tail light out, replace the bulb. Simple. It just requires a little bit more work. Now that we have verified that our lights work, we'll put everything back in place. We'll put our cover back on. We'll check our grounds, make sure that our grounds, because sometimes grounds will make a fuse go or make something happen in an electrical system, cause it to work a certain way or malfunction a certain way. So we're going to check our ground. One of the grounds is right here. There's our ground for our headlight. Make sure that's tight, nothing loose. Here's another ground right here where my finger's at, pointing right there under. We check that as well. It's not loose. We check right here. This is our ground for a battery cable. Everything's tight. And while we're here, we check here to see if there is any corrosion on our positive battery terminal, which there isn't. But if there is, you go ahead and remove the bolts required to take that off, to take that terminal off. And you can use an aluminum brush to scrape off all the corrosion, or you can just grab that terminal and disassemble it and put it inside a cup of Mountain Dew, some kind of soda, and it will leave it there for about 5 minutes, and it'll take out all the corrosion. Here is a layout of all the tools we used just now. We used the owner's manual. We used our fuse tester. We used our handy little fuse remover. Helps us get into the little tight spots. This is our battery terminal and cable protector grease. It's to protect that metal on metal contact from causing a corrosion, which will in turn cause a malfunction in our electrical system. Basic set of tools in case you need it to remove the terminals. An extra ratchet with an extension and a socket to take apart that terminal if we needed to. A set of extra fuses that you could get at any auto parts store. It's always good to have a set of fuses. And bulbs, just in case we needed to replace that bulb. In summary, we troubleshot our right tail light, which was out from a buddy that told us. And we found out that the tail light bulb was not out, that it was multiple issues. We knew this by looking at our dash light by our AC and heater control knobs was out too, and so was our front passenger side parking light. That was out too. So it was 3 problems at the same time, which indicates that it's not a bulb, that it could not be a bulb, or that possibly not a bulb, but more of a fuse. We looked inside the fuse first, found the fuse was defective. We replaced the fuse with the correct one, according to the owner's manual, and everything worked. Another thing you have to make sure is that all your grounds all those grounds are tight and not rubbing on anything. Some car electrical systems are very finicky when grounds are being rubbed on or bare cables showing. So make sure that in all those terminals, they're on there tight, there's no bare metal showing, and they're not being rubbed by something else. Or if not, it'll give you a malfunction. Also, we showed you the tools you need to replace this, which is a simple thing you could do in your garage. This is something you can do in 10 minutes, and it'll help out, and it'll keep you from spending a good amount of money at a mechanic shop. So, this is how you troubleshoot a burned out taillight or a blown fuse on a 2005 Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution, which as well, you can do the same exact procedures on any other vehicle out there. Thank you for watching this video. Apply this, and this should be something you can do. Thank you once again.